Hello, everyone. This is Political Chit Chat, and I'm your host, Gonzalo Duran. Today's honored guest is Star Miles. Star, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me here.
So, give us a little bit about your background.
Well, my name is Star. I'm 17 years old. I go to Pelham Lab High School, and my hobbies is art, being outdoors, taking photos, and spending time with friends.
Well, what we like to do here at this show is to try to give not only politicians and elected officials the opportunity to speak, but we also want to get the other communities, activists, and today the youth. So, maybe what are some subjects you want to talk about today?
I'd say we'd start off with mental health because I feel like that's really important.
All right, so where in the mental health aspect does the youth perspective come from? What do you want to talk about it?
I'd say as in societal pressure coming from parents onto their children.
So you're like being a certain way, doing certain things, and trying to normalize to the norms of society and stuff like that.
Yes.
So what are some difficulties you've been facing?
Well, one of the main difficulties that I've been facing is the way that parents have been so dismissive on our problems, such as our mental health and depression and stuff, and how it should be shown.
For me, when I was growing up, I was a little active, like hyperactive. I wasn't a bad kid or anything, but I did get in a lot of situations. With that being said, the school system, I was punished a lot, and one of the things that they try to do was therapy and drugs real quick. And I did do the therapy when I was a child. My mom was getting more, what's it called, the ability to work with me and direct me more. But I never went into the medication route. What if from your perspective, what have you seen is going on in the youth and how they're trying to push that?
Usually, what they do is they either put us in hospitals, force us onto medication like antidepressants, which does not work. It does not help us as the youth and stuff, and that we should be able to be helped and spoken to and comforted through our problems and stuff.
I've seen situations like that, and I'm sorry that you've seen that. What do you think would be a better routes for people to do?
Getting therapy, for starters, it's very, very important. I've learned, and it's definitely helped me a lot. Always asking for help is the main important thing to do. It's always.
Yes, and there's a lot of now. Back then, the stigma was hard. It's still hard out there for the individuals to seek help, but there are a lot of venues. There's hotlines, therapies, medication groups, stuff like that. So there are a lot of things going out there. Do you think that they're not being given to you that often, or you don't see it out there promoted too much to you?
No, not at all. Everywhere, it's like always so chaotic, it's wild, and no one really sees like it's okay to do so.
Because I know, let's say if you're like in the NYPD and then you say that you need therapy, that could be like an attendance to try to get you off the force. So that's something that I've been trying to deal with, try to bring that out into the public's eyes. But obviously, we're focused on the youth today. I would assume that amongst your peers, I think, teens are more in like two cliques. So if you are stigma into that type of situation that, you might be ostracized by your peers or your friends, do you think that's a little bit on the right side or?
I feel like it's more in the mix. Like, the way to put it, it's like a lot of people always keep everything hidden inside. They stay quiet, they stay shut out, isolated, knowing that there's people that really love them and care about them and want nothing but the best. So I feel like it's okay to talk to people. I feel like it's okay, like, to be there for them and stuff. Especially as me, as a caring person, I'm there for everyone. So I feel like just like how I'd want to be seen, they want to be seen too.
I'm glad you said that. Thank you so much for saying something like that. And there's a lot of venues out there. If you're a school, there's counselors, there's your deans, your teachers, also your parents, and once again, there's other venues like the nonprofit routes and the organizations that are out there, plus your doctors and therapies, and there are medications to help as well. Although we don't try to promote anything specific, those are options out there. For me, I believe some of the pillars that are there are medication, therapy, religion, things like that to help out. Have you seen, or do you think there's anything that you gravitate more to try to help in your aspects?
I'd say being with my friends is really my support system, which is why it really helps me out a lot, especially when I'm going through tough times. I feel like they've really been there for me in my lowest moments, so that's why it's really helpful to me and it's brought me out of really rough times.
I'm glad to hear you have a good, strong network, and that's an important thing. Having a network out there, and it all starts with family structures, your friends, how you're getting out there. For me, I'm always working, so I try to do my best to try to keep a good group of individuals to always. And there are times where even I think that people don't notice it, but I always get that phone call. Hey, Gonzalo, you look like you're a little down today, or we haven't heard from you, or we haven't seen you do certain things that you normally do. So whenever I see that, I'm like, it always puts a little reminder to me in my heart to saying people are watching, people do care. It just where does it come out? How does it fit in? And you're in your age. I'm sure you don't. It's not like a common thing that you've gone through so much. But in the end of the day, you do go through a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
Would you tell us like what are those things that are you think that are putting pressure on you?
I'd say overworking us. When it comes to parents helping us succeed, for example, in education wise, they overwork us constantly. It's nothing but school, homework, studies, this, that. It's everything in one, and it's struggling and it's like pressuring and it causes a lot of damage mentally. Like, we still get stressed as people, we still get overworked as people, we get overwhelmed, overstimulated. Like, it stresses us out too.
I remember one of the biggest things that hit me was when I was finishing high school. I thought that you can, just put in for grants, right? It doesn't work like that. You need certain grade point average and stuff like that. And I was a pretty active guy. I was, in wrestling. I was doing extracurricular activities, volunteer work, even taking college courses while I was in high school. And I realized, or I found out, that just because I didn't have a 96 point whatever or 97 or something like that, I couldn't apply for really any scholarships out there. And that scared me. I was like, I did everything that I thought I was supposed to do, and it still wasn't enough. Um, where are you at with that aspect of, you're about to get out of high school soon and get into the real world and the workforce. Do you think that the system has helped you, or has there been any?
Well, with the system is concerned, I feel like the main organization that's really been helping me out is Exalt. Like, it's really been beneficial to me and my family as well. I've been learning a lot more about the criminal justice system and things is concerned, and it's done more than public school has ever done for me.
I'm glad to hear that. And some of the things that they've been doing is trying to get you volunteer internship work and stuff like that. And it's not just that part, but there's educational knowledges that they've been giving you, and seeing you through a process to try to get you out there in the workforce, right?
Yeah.
Now, do you think there been any other programs that have been helping you towards, or any programs that you'd like to get into that you may have heard of recently?
Well, not that I know of, but for the most that I've had so far is the Boys and Girls Club as well. They're also an after school program that helps with many, many things and also has their own internships as well, but it's for younger students.
Okay. Well, that's one thing I didn't know, that they had interns at the YMCA or the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
So is now I know they're prevalent, but actually I don't even know where the nearest one is for in the Bronx. I think there's at least two in the Bronx.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So I mean that's something I need to look up with again, because I used to know where they are. I used to do scuba instruction at one of the ones in the Bronx. So yeah, I gotta look up that. So now you feel like there's a lot of pressure going on you, or in the teens in general. How have you been able to manage it besides with your friends? Has there been outlets that you've been looking, hobbies, any things that you do, extracurricular activities?
Well, extracurricular activities can be like going outside, taking a walk, taking deep breaths, meditation, or if it's like just you being with your dog or any other animal that you would have. Just like any type of emotional support that would really like keep you in your pace. That's all you really need.
For me, I work as much as I can, and I hope that I take a vacation for 2 weeks once a year, and that's pretty much all I got right now. So, are you looking forward to? Are you gonna take a break after high school and go straight to college, or what are your plans?
Well, since I'd have to be paying for my own tuition, I want to start working as soon as I can, take a year gap break, and then save up the money to save for my tuition and then pay it off like that.
Right. What's some of your background and work activities?
Well, mine is this one internship I did with gardening, and that was something I really, really enjoyed because I love plants, I love fruits, vegetables, the basics. But it was really fun.
Now, if you could do maybe walk into a field, is there any particular field that you're looking into?
Me, it's either taking care of kids or working with animals.
And those are awesome things to do. Now, I know raising my kids and then taking care of my nephew, I enjoy it. Besides the diaper part, that's my pressure. That's where I go too much. But animals, one of the things I used to do in high school was volunteer at the ASPCA. So I enjoyed that very much as a dog and cat socializer. And I followed that with um, volunteering, taking zoology at the Bronx Zoo and doing other stuff. Now, my goal was to try to be a veterinarian one day, but once again, those scholarship problems that I told you about, I realized it wasn't going to work out for me. So, I joined the military and then I did a different career and stuff like that, and here I am today. But, what I would say that if it's possible, if anybody's out there and you'd like to give Star an opportunity in the workforce, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to set that up. So you can reach us at Gonzalo Duran, NYC at gmail.com. Now, we talked about the mental health a little bit. What about the educational system? How do you feel about that?
I feel like they need to work on it a lot more than the way that they've been doing it now because it's changed a lot over the last few years, especially since COVID came around.
Now, so once again, I don't know if this hit you at the same time, but, for me, when I went to DeWitt Clinton, it was DeWitt Clinton High School. Now there's like 6 schools or something like that in there. Is your school like that?
Yes.
Did you see it before that happened, or when you went into your school, it was already multiple schools in it?
It was already multiple schools in it.
All right, so how do you feel that system works?
Honestly, for like the best of my capability, it's weird. With that school, it's a lot in one, and there's a lot of students and stuff, so it's not easily manageable.
Yeah, because I remember once again, and when I went to DeWitt Clinton, there was different houses. I think they called it like rave house or something like that. But now the school has multiple schools in it with multiple principals too, right?
Yes.
That I can't imagine something like that.
Yeah.
Like each floor is its own school, or the left side or the right side is its own school. Like how does that work?
Yeah, each level is a different school, and all of them is just in one. And we all just basically go different ways compared to how like any regular school would be, but just 1 or 2 schools.
I haven't delved too much into that, but I have to because I don't even know how that kind of system works. Like you're paying multiple principals, big salaries instead of having. I mean, do they have their own office too, or do they have one?
Yeah, they all have their own offices.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. What about the safety in the school? How do you feel about that?
I feel like there's a lot of security guards there, which is supposed to make us feel safe, but it doesn't really make us feel safe because we are in the Bronx as is, and yeah, it's unsafe, but the overpacked security guards and the long lines and accusing people of having things they're not supposed to, it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I went from when I started high school. I started out in Springfield Gardens in Queens. And when I went to the Bronx, ended up in DeWitt Clinton, I went from an open-ended school, like there was no issues, no nothing, no security guards, no nothing. And then DeWitt Clinton, there was the metal detectors and the wands, and then the school safety people. Me personally, I enjoyed the safety officers because there was dangers that had happened, but then the whole security stuff. Yeah, I can the delays. Getting if you don't make it at a certain time, then you're gonna run late. And if there's problems, it backs up a lot of things. So have you had any problems with that?
All the time, every single day when going to that school, there would be all the schools just lined up in one, waiting to put their phones in chutes and stuff. They wouldn't even give us the yonder pouches to keep our phones really safe. They put them in plastic bubble bags, which is unsafe. Anybody can just take them.
So that's something important. When I was going to school, very little people had cell phones. So now they take your phone when you go to
Yes.
class.
They take our phones right at the front door of the building.
And how do they know whose phone is who? Like, is it individualized or they throw them all together? Or?
They're all individualized. They have all different types of schools. Since all 7 schools are in one, they basically have all the chutes out at the front door for everyone to put all their phones in. They'll show the school and the student's name, but people can still take them out the crate without a care.
So somebody can take somebody's phone. Wow, that's crazy. And the other option is pouches, where some places have pouches or something like
Yeah.
that. That I've seen at like concerts and stuff. So I know that's pretty tight right there with security. But I can't imagine that. So, I mean, the option is not to bring a phone, but you want a phone because you need it after school or to do other things. So,
Exactly.
what other issues that you're having at the school system or that you feel in the school system?
The food.
The food.
Yes.
You're not liking it?
No, not at all. It's been so hard compared to how it was back in middle school and elementary. It was so much better compared to now and how it was changed. It's either been like frozen food in bags held up in the back of storage units in the school and just microwaved and passed out for everybody. And it's not even like good food anymore. Like the vegan foods that they've been selling in there each and every week, it doesn't taste real.
Hmm. Unfortunately, I'm sorry you have to go through that. So hopefully the people out there can, we look at our legislators to try to fix and mitigate these issues, but there's different. I don't know if you know this, and a lot of people don't know this in the out there, but there's 2 different types of politicians when it comes to the school system. Schools have their own voting rights, like districts, and then there's the politicians, like the senators and stuff like that. So it's a hard thing to think about, and this is something that we need to put some more effort in, because right now there's elections for school officials that are going on right now, like a PTA. I don't know if you ever heard of, you guys have
Yes.
PTA. So a PTA is an elected position. You have to run for that, within their system, and that's a whole different thing from senators and councilmen, and that's his own separate things. And I haven't gone too much into that, but that's something I like to delve and I would recommend that you look into something like that as well, because a lot of the things that you want changed, the reforms, would start with both those 2 legislations.
Right.
So now let's circle back with the mental health part. We touched briefly on, let's say, the stigma on that. What do you think would be some ways that we can try to bring the youth out and say, look, it's okay, or try to tell them, seek help? Do you have any suggestions?
Well, I'd say we'd start by throwing more mental health events, like awareness events. We've done one with the Boys and Girls Club of Harlem. It was really fun. Everyone came out, everyone came together. They gave us bracelets. We sold out notebooks. We told people it was okay. We gave them numbers in case they need help and stuff. Things that really call out to them.
One of the things that I like to do is I look for individuals that likes to share what they're going through. And we write articles or we do videos on them, and one of the things that I've noticed why somebody would share is because they want people to know that they're not the only ones suffering in those situations. Like for me, like me personally, I have this. I'm not. I'm a very shy person. I know everybody's like, well, if you're on a talk show or you're doing speeches all the time, then how are you shy? Well, I am very shy. It's very hard for me to come out and speak to individuals or in public. Another thing that I have is skin issues, right? And because of this, I tend to not, or before, to go out in public because I didn't want people to see that. Now, not so much. I've worked through it. It's something that to show people, hey, there's problems, and we have it. But if we can talk about it more openly, then obviously, I'd like to say that it helps bring everybody more calm, more relaxed. But there's a lot of things that we have to do. The suicide rate for the veteran community that I know very well is like 25 a day. I don't know the specifics for the youth or the general public, but it's not low. And to me, one life lost is one life too many. When we have so many opportunities, there's hotlines, there's other methods that you can try to help each other. One of the things that I would like to bring up right now is what is something that's helped you try to, you already had the Boys and Girls Club, you have your friends. Is there anything else that has come out that you think that would help, or maybe something where we can try to tell these people out there to try to push out more?
I'd say that if we, maybe if we put it out there even more by like, you know how I said we do the events, right? So instead of events, we can do like charity stuff that would help people like save up money and stuff for the things that they'd really need help with. Like people have depression off of like college funds and stuff, like they can't save up money, they're working too many jobs and stuff. So like if they need assistance with things like that, maybe we can benefit them to other things that'll help them with like insurance and things.
So like the problems with society, the life problems, if we could try to start fixing those things. Because obviously, trying to make rent, trying to work, trying to just you pay your bills, all those
And
put
even
together,
eat.
and eat, and trying to eat, those things put into this so much. You know, Now, let's say we live in the perfect world. What are some things that you can do? And here's an example. What if we had 4-day work weeks? You think that would help?
Mm, Not really. I mean, it would for most people, but I'd say, in my opinion, I feel like as long as it's keeping me productive, I'll keep doing it because it's something that I need to do for myself. So if I feel like I need to work more days, I will work more days.
Oh, I like that. That's something that a lot of people wouldn't say. So, but we don't want to work more hours, though,
Yeah.
right?
Don't worry, I'm not overworking myself.
What about schoolwork? Do you think we could relax and push that, pull that back?
Well, with school, it's not as relaxing because they never really try to give us breaks. Like in elementary and middle school, we have recess and we have long lunchtime periods, and even for the starter toddlers, there's nap times and everything when all the teenagers talking about how we should have nap times and everything. But that's another thing.
Look, at my age right now, I don't mind taking naps, so I'm not ashamed to say it. So, I'm saying, let's just do a spitball, see what other ideas we can think about. Look, I just talked about less work, maybe school. Maybe if the schools didn't have such a high percentage for the scholarships, I think that would help. At least we know that, it's more based on, the work that we're putting out instead of, because like for me, once again, I was doing the extra stuff because I didn't want to read and focus on the standardized tests all the time, but at the same time, now I see why a lot of people weren't doing a lot of things that I was doing as well. But there's got to be better ways. There's got to be better ways.
Yeah.
You know, right now, one of the things that I've seen, compared to my life before to now, I take my nephew to school in the mornings, right? And for me, not only is it relaxing, but it's something that I never did with my own kids. Maybe like a handful of times, but working a full-time job as a Marine, they don't really, give you a break to do stuff like that. I think most of the time the mindset we have to be working out and being at work by, early time. So that was out there. So maybe a focus on family values, maybe a little bit more would help. I think maybe having like more family days, but how do you include that in work? That's a hard thing.
Maybe, but at the same time, you can still separate home from work and school because you're still going back to the main place where you're originally staying at. As long as your family's being able to give you comfort and the reassurance that you need to keep pushing yourself to do what you need to do for not only you, but for those who you care about, it would keep you moving. Because I've seen a lot of, kids and stuff feel neglected or pushed away by their parents because they so like shut off and cold about it. So I feel like parents should be more open with their kids and more close in a way.
Yes, yes. And sometimes I can tell you from the parent perspective, we do lose focus on that. And it's not that, we don't want to. It's just, once again, the pressures you're feeling is pressure. And by no means do I want to mitigate that the pressures that you're feeling aren't as big. And I think that's a lot of people assume that, right?
Yeah.
And how do you go back and you combat that? How do you tell people, no, my problems are just as serious as yours?
I start by saying, like, hey, just like how I validate your feelings, you should at least try to validate mine. Because our problems are both important and they're both affecting us in a way. So I feel like it should be heard for and at least healed with at that.
Um, well, regarding the education system, what is something that we could maybe tackle that you think would be more beneficial for the people to know out there?
As in mental health wise or anything else?
Whichever one.
Mm, I'd say
Do you feel like the classes are too big? You have enough teachers that are qualified? Um, those are things I think that right now, let's say this is an election year, we're in 2025. We're getting a new mayor. Once we get a new mayor, that means we got most likely they're going to change the commissioners and the people that are in charge. Let's say the police, the education chancellor. So things could change next year. What would you tell those people? Like what the things that you want to see changed out there?
regents. I want
The
to see
regions.
regents changed.
Like you want it to be gone, or do you want it to be
I'd
degrading
say
different?
like it's beneficial, but at the same time, it's to an extent. With the way how they tell us to study, it's like ages and ages of packaging. It's very much a lot to study, and they give us a lot of questions. It's like outrageous, atrocious at that.
And it's mandatory.
Yes, it's all mandatory. Same thing with SATs and everything. I know SATs is very important because it's for your determined college, but with Regents, it gets harder and harder each year you get, especially when it's the following up years, and it was horrible.
When I was graduating, they had just like started pushing the Regents exam. I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think it wasn't mandatory. Maybe certain ones were not, but now to think about it now that it's mandatory, I don't. I'm sorry you're going through that. Like I feel sorry for a lot of things that you're going through that you're telling me, and I'm looking towards to try to fix that up. But I thank you for sharing everything that you've told us so far. Is there something real quick that you want to just try to get out there?
Well, I'd say, like I said before, seek help if you do need help. Everyone is here for you. Everyone will listen to you. Anybody, like anything that you might need, just call for help.
Thank you for that, Star. Now, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, please feel free to reach out at gonzalodurannyc@gmail.com. And until then, as always, God bless America.